I'm very, very happy to be here with you. We're hosting today Zack. Not going to try your surname, Zack, because I'll miss it there.
I don't even know how to say it, so don't worry.
But good friend from the Trading Academy and the Trading Cafe, which are very good. Those rare communities, trading communities, authentic communities and academies to learn from. And we met a few months ago and started talking about doing this webinar. I'm very happy that this is finally happening. So, Zack, I'll pass the microphone to yourself. You can introduce yourself deeper. And I'll be in the background in case anything is needed. And I'll be just learning from you.
Killer. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here today, Saul. And it's awesome to see everyone. There's a great number of you here. And we have loads to speak about. So just a very brief introduction about myself. So I'm the co-founder of an education startup called the Trading Academy. And we're a group of education specialists and expert traders, six-figure traders. And we launched last year in 2022. And that's basically it. And so far, our whole goal and focus is to help people to trade. But this is not going to be a pitch for the Trading Academy. What I want to do is we've got loads of stuff to speak about today. And so if it's okay with you, if you guys are ready, can we just dive in and we will begin with the agenda today?
Yeah, let's do it. And just, Zack, sorry, before you go,
sure.
Just let the traders know if you want to address questions as you go, or you want to leave all the questions to the end. So we have a
yeah, so definitely want to field some questions, guys. But let's focus on at the end. I've got a lot of stuff prepared for you today, so we'll circle around to them at the end. And yeah, I hope that you enjoy it. So let's dive in. So first of all, guys, I've got my coffee here. I've got my pen and paper. I'm going to be writing some stuff down for you. So just say yes in the comment box if you can see my screen. Let me just make sure I can actually write here. Okay, cool. All right, let's do this. Okay, let me see if I can turn the chat off. Okay, we're all good to go. All right, guys. So why are we here today? What is the main reason we are here? Well, you're here because you want to trade. Now, why do you want to trade? What is the main reason why most of you here want to trade? Well, the reason you're here is because you want to get what trading can actually give you. And that fundamentally is this thing here, that is freedom. And when we think of freedom, it can mean different things to different people, but I'm going to break it down as to how we speak about freedom. So first of all, it's freedom from a 9 to 5. And this is where you have the freedom from a boss telling you what to do, where you have the freedom where you're not dictated when you can take holidays or what you need to be wearing. Then we can also speak about freedom of location. And this is where you have the ability to actually live wherever you want. You don't have to be going to a specific office. You can live and work wherever you want to. And then finally, we speak about freedom of time. And this is where you have enough time to spend with your family, to spend with your friends, and even to spend on yourself and to work on your hobbies. Now, this is what most of you are looking for. You're looking for freedom. But the issue is how do you actually achieve this? Now, I need to figure out how to get a second page on this because I'm not used to using this. How do we do that? Sorry, guys. Apologies. New whiteboard. Okay, here we go. All right. So how do we actually do this? How do we actually achieve a place where you can achieve freedom? Well, this is you right now. And your main goal is you want to be in a place where you actually have freedom. And excuse my writing here. I write like a 3-year-old, but hopefully it's all right. Well, what's in the way of you achieving that is fundamentally barriers. This is the problem that will stop you from achieving it, right? A lot of people dream of achieving all these great things with trading, but unfortunately, there are barriers in your way. Now, what barriers are stopping you right now from achieving freedom, achieving a place where you've got a 6-figure income from trading and you could actually break free from a 9 to 5, all the things that we often hear and speak about? Well, we can sit here for hours and speak about all the different barriers. I'm going to summarize into a couple of different things that hopefully you'll resonate with. The first one is the industry. And so there are different problems with the industry. First of all, we've got issues with brokers, right? Where brokers often offer biased education because they don't really care if you make money. What they fundamentally care about is volume. They just want you to trade. And so often the education that they provide can be biased. Now, the next thing can be signal programs. A lot of people that we see coming into our infrastructure fall victim to signal programs, and they don't work the vast majority of the time. Scams, very prevalent. I'm sure every single person watching today has been inundated at some point or another with messages and texts offering them these magical things. Scams happen. We hear about it all the time, and it's very sad. And then we've got gurus. So these are fundamentally people that are better marketers than traders. And we often see this in places like YouTube, where you can have flashy lights and you're speaking about, getting Lamborghinis and all these amazing things. And really, in order to be successful in YouTube, you need to understand marketing really well, YouTube algorithms. These are the things that you need to understand. So the industry is a massive problem that can hold people back. Now, the second thing is the economic climate. Now, the economic climate, fundamentally, everyone is feeling right now. We have rising costs, we have uncertainty, and this causes pressure in a lot of people, and it pushes them into a place of making unhealthy decisions with how they earn money and how they can grow their wealth. Now, the third issue that we face is yourself, right? So we can be our own worst enemies, and you yourself will often be the problem that will stop you from being successful with trading. So what happens? Well, imagine this is you here. You're being pulled in lots of different directions. You're being pulled by your family. You're being pulled by your friends. You're being pulled by your work, and your boss is calling you up, telling you to do things. You're being pulled by perhaps financial worries and concerns. You're being pulled by the need to look after your health. You're being pulled by entertainment, right? We've got endless supply of things that you can be diving into when it comes to Netflix and TV. You might be suffering with things like personal doubt, self-confidence issues, internal worries about the future. So you as an individual, you're being pulled in lots of different directions. Now, when we look at the problems that you face right now, what does all of this fundamentally mean? Well, let me get a new board up. Well, what these problems fundamentally mean is that we end up with a lack of focus. And really, the byproduct of lack of focus when it comes to trading is we see a scattered approach where you'll perhaps join 50 different communities or Telegram groups. You're looking for a brand new strategy every single day. And also, you might find that you just have zero consistency, or your trading is just not consistent. So when you look at this and you're being pulled in all these different areas and these different directions, what is it you need? Well, fundamentally, what is needed is extreme focus. You need to be focusing on the right areas, focusing on what is genuinely holding you back specifically from attaining genuine freedom from trading. So it's not just a pipe dream where year after year you're fictitiously thinking and fantasizing about this world that you can have from trading, but it's actually a reality. Because what happens is when you think of all these problems that you face as an individual, a lot of problems, the byproduct of that is lack of focus. And you can be in a place where you can just be struggling because you've got all these things that are in your mind that are pulling you in different areas. So what I want to do today is I want to just help you get focused. And specifically where we're focusing on how you can build a six-figure income from scratch. And what will help you do that is being focused, genuinely focused. So without further ado, I hope you guys are ready. Let's just dive straight in. So there are two areas that you need to be focusing on. Now, the first area is your account size. Okay. Now, I know we're here with our good friends, the Fivers, but we're speaking about your personal account size. This is not a funded account. This is your account size. Why? Well, because an account size, your account size will dictate how much money you make. If you have a small account, you'll get small profits. And a small account in our world is anything less than $100,000. Now, right now, you may be sitting there thinking, well, hey, I'm nowhere near $100,000 in my personal trading account. This might seem like a pipe dream, but we'll get to that in a second. When you have a small account that is anything less than $100,000, what that leads to is a place of bad decisions, right? And this is where you can be in a place where you begin over leveraging yourself. You look for risky strategies, you fall victim to pressure and to stress, or you might see yourself over trading. That's what a small account can do. So the first thing I want you guys to do is, and I'd love you to write this down if you can, is I want to give you all a brand new target today. This is a new goal for everyone here today. And that is starting from today, I want you to set the target of building personally an account that is over 6 figures. And hit a yes in the comment box if this is attractive to you. So building an account that is over 6 figures. This is your target starting from today. Now, when we see people come into our infrastructure, we're at a vantage point where we can see thousands of people doing different things. And what we know is that if your goal is not right, if your target is not right, then all the actions that you do are not right as well. Where you're focusing on, where your energy is focused, will dictate what you do on a day-to-day basis. And so what I want to do is I want to pull your energy in and focus it in on building an account to 6 figures, right? So that you personally have an account that is over $100,000. Now, I'm going to create a new whiteboard here. Now, the second barrier, so where the first one is your account size. And we've got a new target for everyone here, which is building accounts over 6 figures. And that is over $100,000. Okay, there we go. Now, the second thing is the knowledge, and that is the knowledge to build up that account and maintain that account. And I encourage you to take notes for any newcomers that are coming in. So we've got the target, which is building up, which is having that 6-figure account. But then the second barrier, the fundamental barrier that you need to solve is having the knowledge to build up that account and maintain that 6-figure account. Now, why do we say this? Well, because right now you might be in a position where you look at your bank account and you might only have $100 in there that you can actually realistically trade with, or perhaps it's 500, 1,000, or 10,000. It's arbitrary. Anything less than 100K is small. And so right now you might be thinking, well, how do I actually get from that to a place where I've got an account that is actually over $100,000? How do I actually get there? How do I do that? And then once you reach that place where you've got a large account, then how do you actually maintain that? Right? Because one thing is building it and another thing is actually maintaining it. And we see this all the time. We see it with people that, for example, they might get an inheritance. So they get a large sum of money. And we've seen a few people like that come into our trading academy where they have had an inheritance in the past and they've tried to trade with it and that money is just depleted. Or perhaps someone's focused on saving with external funds, perhaps through their job, and they've saved over many years and they get into trading and that money just depletes and it goes. And we even see it with people that get funded. All of a sudden, they're now managing a $100,000 account, a $200,000 account, and they lose the account. And so one thing is building up your funds to a place where you actually have a 6-figure account. And the second thing is maintaining that so that you don't lose it, you don't blow it up, and you can consistently scale it and grow it. So how do we solve these? If we look at these two problems, and that is having an account that is over 6 figures and then building up your funds so that you can actually reach that and then maintain it, how do we solve it? So what I want to do now is I want to solve each of these problems step by step. And what I'm going to walk you through is what we teach our students in the Trading Academy. And it's all mapped out in what we call the student progression plan. And we give that to all of our students. I've arranged so that everyone here today, you can actually get access to this. And at the end, we'll drop a link so that you guys can do that. And it's got a bunch of cool resources. But what I want to do now is over the next few minutes is distill how you guys can solve these two fundamental problems. So if you're ready, let's dive straight in. Now, the very first thing that you need to do is you need to stop being, hopefully you can read this terrible writing, short, let me spell it right, short-sighted. Here we go. So the first thing is you need to stop being short-sighted. Now, us humans, we have a very complex relationship with time. And we see that we tend to suck at planning, right? A lot of people, most people that we come across, they tend to live day to day and they really suck at planning. We have this really weird, complex relationship with time. Now, I want to take you guys back to the 1960s. And there was a guy in the 1960s that worked for Stanford University. His name was Walter Mischel. And he created something called the marshmallow experiment. And what he did was he got a bunch of kids together and he offered them two choices. They could either have one marshmallow now, or they could wait for 15 minutes and they could get 2 marshmallows in 15 minutes. Now, what they found is the overwhelming majority of children opted for the 1 marshmallow now. Even though they could have waited just 15 minutes and they could have got 2 marshmallows, they opted for 1 marshmallow now. And so what tends to happen is that this is what most of us humans fall victim to. We want everything now. We see it with Amazon Prime, we see it with trading, we see it with relationships. We want everything now. And I just saw a comment pop up about delayed gratification. It's something that we all struggle with. Now, what's interesting about this experiment is that actually years later they tracked and followed what these children did in this experiment and how their lives transpired. And they noticed that those that opted to wait and get the 2 marshmallows and delaying that reward, that prize, they ended up having better relationships, getting better education, being better financially. And our relationship with time is messed up for the vast majority of humans. And we see this in trading all the time. We see that people end up over leveraging themselves. They have too much of an emotional connection with losses. They end up profit chasing, suffering from FOMO. And a lot of the time, we're not even aware that we're suffering from these problems because our relationship with time is so messed up. And really the byproduct is that people end up not planning for the future. We end up living in a very reactive way, and we end up not really thinking about what's going to happen in 5 years' time. Now, another reason for that is because we don't get the results now, right? We don't get the results now. We will get them in 5 years' time. So we call that delayed feedback. You don't get the feedback loop that you get when you get immediate response now to any actions that you do. So what is the simplest thing you guys can do? If you're struggling from this, if you're struggling to have a healthy relationship with time and planning out properly for the future, which is the very first thing that we need to tackle in order for you to build a 6-figure account, what is the simplest thing you guys can do? I want to just share some practical concepts with you that I hope will help you. Now, the very first one is this. Most people will overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year, but they will vastly underestimate what they can achieve in a 5 to 10 year period. Now, the reality is, guys, is that time will still pass no matter which one you choose. If you choose to focus on trying to be a millionaire today, time is still going to pass. 5 years will still arrive, and soon 5 years will be today. So the advice that I want to give you is to focus on one of them, the one that will genuinely give you better results. Focus on the long term. Remember that we will drastically overestimate what we can achieve in the next few months, in the next year. We will underestimate what we can achieve in the next 5 to 10 years. Stop trying to become a millionaire today and focus on becoming a millionaire over the next 5 years. Okay? So view the future with importance. View the future, the next 5 years, as your best friend. Now, the second concept that I want to share with you guys is that results lag. Now, what do we mean by this? Well, it's the concept that what you do now will affect what will happen later. And we just mentioned the fact that we get delayed feedback with this, which is a problem, right? But what I eat now, if I eat junk food, if I eat crap, right, that will affect me in 5 years. It won't affect me in, well, it might have, depends on how your stomach works, but it might affect you in the next hour. But generally, you're not going to get the feedback now, right? But how I treat my body will impact my life in the next 5 to 10 years. If I heavily abuse alcohol or drugs, well, I'll feel the effects of that in 5 to 10 years. I won't feel it immediately. Now, the same happens with anything we do in life financially. What I do now will affect my life later on, right? If I look after my body now, I will have a much better body in 5 years' time. And so sometimes we don't understand this. So I want you to think of this concept and remember this concept. Results lag. Good results lag and bad results lag, right? So use that to your advantage. When you're conscious of that, and people don't get taught this stuff in school, right? It's luck of the draw whether someone actually teaches you this stuff. And so really take it to heart. Write this down. Results lag, both good and bad. So how can you apply this right now? There's a few things that you need to avoid, like the plague. The first thing is you need to avoid having a yo-yo account, right? So if you look at your trading account results, we don't want to see this. We don't want to see things up and down like a yo-yo. Instead, what we want to see is we want to see consistency. So I'm just going to draw a very simple chart here. Got money on the side, we got time at the bottom. And really what you're looking for is you're not looking for this up and down like a yo-yo. You're looking for consistent growth, smooth growth that gradually reaches an exponential curve. And the reality is that in order for you to get to a six-figure place, this is going to take this long, right? And we'll speak about length of time in a second, right? But it's not going to happen here. And so what we're looking for is we're not looking for up and down with your trading. We're looking for a very smooth curve. So with that said, I'm going to give you guys a second target to gun for. We've got the first target, which is building up a six-figure account. And now we have a second target. And that second target is 3% growth per month or less. Okay, or less. Now, why are we landing on this? The reality is that you need to stop looking for crazy returns. What you need is consistent returns. And this is why we're focusing on this 3% growth. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means a few things. First of all, what is this 3%? Well, I don't know if 3% sounds like a lot to you, it sounds like a little to you, but I'm going to explain it to you in very simple terms how this is actually a very powerful number. So if you get 3% monthly growth in your account, if you compound that over a 12-month period, that equates to over a 42% growth over a monthly period. Now, this 42% here will beat most investment strategies in the market, just hands down. If you look at the S&P 500, depending on which year you're looking at, you're getting sometimes 2%, sometimes 6%, sometimes 14%. 42% over a year is absolutely insane. So what does this mean? It means that if you're gunning for 3% growth in your account consistently, and you're not gunning for this ridiculous 15% one month, then you get 3% the next month, then you get 25% the next month, then you make a massive loss the next month. Consistently, 3% growth like clockwork. Then over a period of a year, you get 42%. So this means in January, if you put in $1 in January, in December, you get $1.42 back. Now, what's that? Well, that's a freaking vending machine. So the reality is that 3% is a lot, but we have a problem. The first problem is that you can't increase the 3%. You can't focus on increasing. Now, you may, let's not speak about methods to make that bigger right now, but 3% is your target. And you can't increase that mechanism because if you try to gun for more, what ends up happening is that you end up over leveraging yourself, taking risky trades, looking for strategies that will give you disproportionate, unrealistic returns. So you can't increase that 3%. So this now highlights the importance of having a six-figure account. Why? Well, let's look at your returns in month one. If I've got a $1,000 account, right, and I get 3%, that's $30. Now, what can I buy with $30? That's basically a couple of coffees at Starbucks. If I've got a $10,000 account, that's going to give me $300. Now, what can I buy with that? Well, now I can buy 2 sandwiches, yippity frickin' doodah. I can't do very much with that, right? $300 isn't going to get you very far. And that's with a $10,000 account. What about a $100,000 account? Well, that's going to give me $3,000. Okay, well, if I extracted all of that money in month one, right? So now a 3% return, I've made $3,000 profit. Okay, if I extract all of that, well, first of all, you don't want to extract it all because that's gonna stunt your growth incredibly, right? But even so, what can you do with $3,000? In today's climate, still not very much, and that's if you're extracting it all. So really what you need for the vast majority of people is you're going to need a account that's around about a $250,000 mark. And that's going to give you about $7,500 profit. And so this will enable most people to basically make that shift. Now, obviously, everyone earns a different amounts of money, but based on students that we come across and what we see, this is really the sweet spot. This would allow most people to actually quit their jobs and genuinely live off trading. So when we speak about this freedom of shifting away from 9 to 5, being in a place where you can actually be free, what we're talking about is building up a six-figure account in combination with this 3%, because that 3% we can't change, right? So we need to focus on the mechanism that we can change, which is our account size. Now, this is your target. Now, the point with this is that in order to achieve that, you're not going to go from $1,000, whatever you've got now in your account, to $250,000. You're not going to achieve that in 1 month, guys. You aren't. Which is why it's so important to shift from a short-term gambling mindset to a long-term strategic planning mindset. Okay, because the future is going to come, right? Most want to quit their jobs and they will spend the next 5 years trying to make that happen in a month. but the future is going to come anyways. So what I want to encourage all of you to do starting from today, we've now got 3 targets. One is your goal is to achieve a 6-figure account, right? This is a new goal that everyone here can achieve, right? It's possible for every single person here to achieve this. Doesn't matter whether you come from a third world country or you've got $100 in your account, you can achieve this. The second thing is you need to focus on that consistent growth, right? We're not looking at these disproportionate, unrealistic returns on a monthly basis, 3%. In fact, when you hit that 3% mark, stop trading. You're done. Well, Zach, what if I achieve that on day one? Well, congratulations. Now you've got 29 days to hang out and do everything else. There is mechanisms, right, for you to still trade. If you just enjoy the process of trading and you want to trade more, fine, right? There are different ways we can do that, and I'll speak about that later on in the session. But 3% is your goal. Now, the third goal is to shift to a long-term mindset, right? Because the future is going to come either way. So let's embrace it. Let's work with the future and let's use it. Now, with your new mindset in your bag, your new goals in your bag, how can you genuinely guarantee that you actually achieve this stuff? How can you actually make that happen? So I want to focus on the next cornerstone of this. And the first thing is going to be to master what works. Okay. So I want to just throw a warning here right now. Okay. The first thing is this, guys, and I beseech you to stop falling for gimmicks. Okay. Stop falling for gimmicks. It is the very reason why me and my partner and the group that we work with in 2022, we created what we created because we saw so many people losing stupid amounts of money. And I could sit here for the next 2 hours and tell you horror story after horror story. Please stop falling for gimmicks. Number one, don't fall for bots, right? The data points that are needed in order for a bot to be successful are too nuanced, they're too varied, and too complex. We are not there yet, okay? Stop falling for signal programs. I'm yet to meet somebody that is genuinely successful over the long term, aka over a 2 to 3 month period with a signal program. Stop falling for them. Stop falling for secret strategies, guys. Right? These secret strategies that people are telling you about. Unfortunately, whatever that is, secret strategies, and generally it's in combination with being taught in a very short period of time. I came across someone in our academy and she spent $6,000 for a 3-day course. And it's just, and on the back end, she basically lost her money. It was, she might as well have just thrown that money down the drain. So these are things that I really want to encourage you guys to avoid. But what should you do? So I want to walk you through some core principles that if you guys can focus on doing this, you're going to be insanely successful. Okay. So let's focus on the problem first of all. I want you to imagine a trading strategy like an iceberg, right? It's like an iceberg. And what you will see is you'll see the tip. Excuse the pun, right? So you'll see the tip. The reality is, though, is that what you actually need to be successful with that specific method of trading is the whole freaking thing. But what happens? What most people do is they will hop, skip, and jump. And if we look at all these different strategies and methods of trading, is they will focus on the tip of lots of different strategies. And they'll go from one strategy to another strategy to another strategy. And they perhaps know a little bit about 50 different strategies. And so really what we're talking about is stop strategy hopping. One of our instructors, Simon Pullen, full-time trader, 16 years, he describes this as the cycle of doom, right? Where you're going and you're hop, skipping, and jumping from one thing to another. Stop doing that. What you should be doing instead is focusing on depth of understanding. And we interviewed Saul recently in our academy, and he mentioned this as well. Don't go wide, go deep, right? So how do you do that? So I'm going to give you some mechanisms now that you guys can actually use to actually do this. And I'm going to start high level, and then we'll break it down a little bit. The very first principle that you need to be thinking about when you're focusing on this is you need to spend more energy on less. Let me repeat that. Write this down. spend more energy studying less. Why? Your energy has time limits, right? We spoke about this earlier. You're being pulled, right? You've got your family, your friends, your work, television, your hobbies, your doubts, your pains, your health, your freaking, all this stuff's going on. You are not an infinite person. You don't have infinite resources available. So this means that you need to use your energy wisely. So take more of your energy, but focus it on less. Stop spreading yourself thin. Okay, well, how do we do that? I want to walk you through what we call in the academy, we call the foundation loop. And what we identified was working with thousands of traders and communicating with technically millions. We found the number one thing that people, well, there's actually many things we've spoken of today, but one of the core things that people struggle with is they don't learn to trade properly. So let me just walk you through how you need to do this. It's very simple conceptually, and you can start doing this as of today. Okay, so what do you need to do? There are 4 fundamental steps to this. The first step is you need to take a strategy, a method that will enable you to generate a 6-figure income. Okay, so this is basically a proven method of trading. Okay, then what you need to do is you need to focus on, write this down properly, 6-figure components. Right, instead of trying to learn the entire strategy in one go, you need to focus on learning one element of that strategy. So if we broke a trading methodology down into various components, let's say it's analysis, it is execution and management, those 3 fundamental things. And we can do it in a couple of different ways, right? But instead of trying to just learn everything in a day, break it down into components. And the truth is the smaller the component, the better it is for you. Okay. And again, tie this in with your long-term mindset, you're onto a freaking winner here. Okay. So you take your component, and the way I want you to view it, it's like a ladder, right? So if you've got a ladder, you're not going to just go from rung 1 and just jump to rung 12 immediately. No, you go step by step, or think of it like you're driving, right? If you're driving, you're not going to immediately get in a car and just go on a freaking motorway like most people do when they're trading. It's like, oh, cool, now I can try, I've learned one thing, now I can trade, and they go and they just freaking start trading. No, right? What we do is we break it down. With when you drive, you learn your clutch first, you learn perhaps then you'll learn to use your mirrors, then you'll learn to read road signs. And when you take all of these components, right, these elements, and you put them all together, hey, presto, you can drive. So the first thing is we're focusing on individual components. Now, you take one component, then what you do is you practice it. This means in a safe environment with a demo account, right? You're not freaking going and trading like willy-nilly, you're practicing it. So if it's analysis, cool. Now I'm practicing analysis. That's step number 2. Step number 3 is you need to get feedback on your practicing. Now, there are different ways you can do that. One method is you can backtest, right? And you can use a demo account. You can get live feedback from what you're doing there. Okay, that's one way you can do it. I'm a massive advocate of focusing on people that already do this. So focus on someone that's genuinely mastered this and get feedback on what you are practicing from someone that's already mastered it. Okay, so you need to get feedback. Think of it like a coach, right? So in a football team, depending on whether you're in America or England, I'm just going to run with football. Okay, so football, when a team is training, they're not constantly just playing game after game after game after game. So depending on which position you play will depend on what you're practicing, right? The goalie, right, or the person in defense will be practicing one thing. The striker or the person that's a forward up front will be practicing something else. And they practice the elements of the game so that when they come together and they play the match, they're ready to go. And what the coach is able to do is they're able to look on from the sidelines and they are able to see things that the player can't see, right? So the player might be better than the coach, but the coach is able to actually look on and give them feedback. So feedback is vital. Without it, you can't course correct, right? And we see people that repeat the same mistake time after time after time after time because they aren't getting the appropriate feedback. Now, the next thing you need to do is you need to use these 3 components. Now, when you put these 3 things together, you get extreme progress, right? It's just the nature of the beast. If you're studying one component, you're practicing it, you're getting feedback on it, holy smokes, you are growing, right? Now, what this means is it means that you inevitably will face problems that you hadn't faced before. So the next thing is barriers. Now, all of a sudden, we're in a place where you're facing things you haven't faced before. So I want everyone here to reset their mind and expect problems, right? You are going to face problems. As you go through this process of the foundation loop and you're focusing on studying less with more energy, right? So focusing on less, not more strategies, one strategy and breaking it down, practicing, getting feedback, you will face problems. Expect those problems. Get over those problems. The best way to do it is, again, you need to rely on an expert that's already done it, that's already a master of that strategy. That's the quickest and fastest way to do it. Another way you can do it is you can continue that process. So practice more and get feedback, practice more and get feedback. Now, what happens here is this is the foundation loop. If you keep on doing these 4 things and you repeat them, what ends up happening is you become a freaking master. You become an absolute master, right? If you look at somebody that is a 6-figure trader, aka they have an account that is larger than $100,000, right? And they're genuinely doing this, then you will be an absolute master. I'm going to pause because I saw a comment come in that I am going to address really quickly. Nothing new. You're right. This isn't new. The reality is, though, is that 95% of traders fail. And the reason is because they don't do this stuff. But let's carry on. So let's do a quick recap, guys. So what do we have here? First thing is this, is it's vital that you have a long-term mindset. The second thing is focus on the 3% target, right? You're not looking at more than that. The third thing is you want to have a 6-figure, and sorry for the writing, it's just terrible with this whiteboard thing too, 6-figure focus, right? And this is where you have a specific goal of building up a 6-figure account that is yours. Okay, so we're not speaking about funded accounts here, right? We're speaking about having your own 6-figure account, right? Because as we spoke of before, you will need that in order to genuinely achieve the freedom that we've spoken of. You can't generate a 6-figure income from a 4-figure account. The math doesn't work. And then finally, you need to make sure you're actually learning properly, right? So what this means is it means just slowing down and focusing more of your energy on less. Now, if you do these things, if you genuinely do these things, I guarantee you that you will reach a 6 or even 7-figure account, depending on what you do, within the next 5 to 10 years. And so we see traders that have been trading for 5 years, but their accounts are in exactly the same place as they were when they first began, right? And this is why this stuff is vital, right? Organically, we don't want to do it for all the reasons we spoke of earlier. So watch the replay and go back and just check in with how you are, self-assess, right? But if you do this, I guarantee you'll reach a 6 to 7-figure account. Now, what if we want to speed it up, right? What if instead of waiting 7 to 8 years before we take our account from $100 to $100,000, which if you do these 4 things properly, you will be able to do that. What can we do to actually genuinely speed things up? Okay, well, let's dive into that now. I've created the maximum number of boards, so let me just delete this stuff here. Okay, so what can we do, guys? Well, remember that we can't increase the 3%. We can't increase the 3%, right? Because if we try and gun for disproportionate returns, we're going to end up blowing up our accounts, as most people do, right? They end up really harming themselves. So we can't risk more. So what's the methodology? So this is what we teach our students to do, right? And the basic focus is this, is moving forward, and I encourage everyone here to take this strategy on board and apply it, okay? It's not the only way of doing things, but it is definitely, it's definitely the surest, if that's a word. It's definitely a very viable way that you can actually do this, and you can drastically speed up the rate at which you can actually achieve a 6-figure account. So what you want to do is you want to get 2 accounts. And your main account, this is what you're going to be focusing on with your 3% target, right? So this is going to be your nest egg. This is the thing that is going to that is going to allow you to genuinely be free, right? Because it's your money. And so what we're looking at here is your target is to build that up to 6 figures. So over $100,000. This is your target, your main account. Now, what you're not going to do is mess around and screw around with this 3%, right? You're not looking for ridiculous returns. Now, your second account is you are going to focus on getting a funded account. Now, we have a slightly different way of using funded accounts in our infrastructure, and this is it. So your funded account, this is what you're going to do with it. And the target we teach, so just a bit of background behind what we've done is, so we believe that education is the secret to solving anything, right? And structured education is what's been seriously lacking within the industry. And so your target here is to take a funded account, so to get funded, right? Which is, we love the 5ers and we're a strong advocate of them, right? But to get funded, and what we teach is 2% growth on a monthly basis with your funded account, right? So we're not looking at crazy returns, right? We're looking at realistic returns. This can definitely be achieved, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to take all of the profit that you make from your funded account and you're going to invest that back into your main account. So all the profit that you get from your funded account is going to go back into your main account. And you're going to do this for how long? You're going to do this for a period of at least 2 to 3 years. Now, what does this mean? Well, this means that you're in a position, and I'm going to speak about some challenges that you'll face with this in a second, but this means that you'll be in a position where you can drastically increase the rate at which you personally have a 6-figure account. So based on a very conservative calculation within one of the 5 scaling methods that we teach in the academy, you can actually achieve this within just over 2 years. So this means that you can be in a position where you personally have a 6-figure account that is generating you $2,000 to $3,000 per month consistently by doing this method here. Now, what's the challenges? Well, the challenges is that this, I mean, go back and look at everything we spoke of before. Your mind is going to be your biggest barrier here, because if we look at the amount of time that it's going to take you to do this, right, it's going to take you 2 years. And so the problem area is going to be here, right? This is going to be your problem area because you're going to be getting profit coming in from your funded account, and your natural inclination is going to be to spend that, right? That's what most people will want to do. There's nothing wrong with using any profit and money you get for good things, but it's vital that you keep yourself in check. So what we recommend our students to do is number one is focus on keeping your job, right? Because you need to live somehow, right? So we see some people and they way too soon, right? They might have an account that's only $5,000 or $6,000 and they quit their job to focus on trading full time. It's like, you can't do that, right? So protect the money and the profits that you make from your trading account and focus your energy on keeping your job and use that money to live on. Then have your main account, and your main account you're going to be protecting as well. This is your nest egg, and you're looking for 3% or less consistent growth every single month. So we're not up and down like a yo-yo, and that's way harder than it seems because you have to keep yourself in check. And then you will be trading a secondary account. This is going to be your funded account. There's different strategies you can use there, right? You can trade multiple funded accounts, multiple prop firms. There's different things you can do there. So if you want to trade more, you can definitely do that. But all the profit you make from your funded account, you're going to put that back in to your main account. Now, if you do this, guys, you will be in a position that a tiny percentage of traders actually ever achieve. In fact, we invested tens of thousands of dollars reaching out. This is before we launched the Trading Cafe and the Trading Academy. Me and my partner, we invested about $25,000 and we reached out to about 5 million traders online, and we were looking for profitable traders. Now, out of 5 million people that we found, and we had a specific set of criteria. Number one is they had to have been trading for over, they had to be trading with a 6-figure account. Okay. And the second criteria is that they were generating a 6-figure income from that account. Now, out of 5 million people that we reached, we found 30 people that were potentially good candidates. And out of those 30 people, we actually only ended up with 4. The reality is that very few people achieve this because the challenges mentally and the discipline that is involved with this is very complex. But on top of that, the stuff that we've gone over today, no one fundamentally teaches. Everyone's focused on a magic strategy. And the reality is what you actually need is a very simple way of planning out your future, right? What are you going to be doing over the next 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years? Shifting into that long-term mindset. And if you do that, you will be in a position where you generate huge amounts of money to reinvest. So what do you need to do next, guys? So let's just do a quick recap here. The first thing you need to do is you need to shift to a long-term mindset. Time will pass anyways. So choose consistent growth versus up and down like a yo-yo break-even growth. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is on your main account, focus on 3% or less, right? If you're aiming for more, you're probably going to be gambling. Okay, so focus on 3% as your target. If you're trading within a funded account, focus on 2%, even less within your funded account. Okay, so your targets will dictate your actions. Okay, so focus on these targets, 3% your main account, 2% in your funded account. The third thing is genuinely master what works. Don't hop, skip, and jump from one strategy to another, but focus more of your energy and your attention on less. Okay, I'm a massive advocate of getting rid of social media, get rid of your freaking phone, get rid of YouTube, get rid of distractions, and just focus your energy and attention on spending more time on less. Okay, methods of trading that work, that are scientifically proven, have been around for decades. They've been around for decades. The work's already been done. We know what works. There are scientific studies that we've dug out that demonstrate what works. We know what works. The problem is that people don't want to spend the time and energy to learning those properly. So we've been over the mechanisms to do that. Focus on the foundation loop. That will get you to a place where you can genuinely master it. And if you do it that way, you'll actually get there a hell of a lot quicker, because most people want to bypass learning things properly, and they spend 5 freaking years bypassing learning things properly. So don't do that. Genuinely just pause, shift to a freaking demo account, pause and study trading properly. That is my best advice. Okay. Now, the final bit of advice is use a funded account wisely to accelerate your growth. Okay, you can get incredible profits from a funded account, and you can bypass building up a 6-figure account very quickly, right? And you can be getting the same profits that you'd be getting if you had a 6-figure account from a funded account. So use a funded account to your own advantage. Okay. The money isn't yours, right? The profit's yours, but the money isn't yours. So use the funded account, the profits that you get from it, and funnel that back into your main account so that you yourself can also have a 6-figure account. And then the sky is the limits. So we do have some resources that we'll post a link in here. I'm just going to jump back in and stop sharing my screen right now. Hopefully this has been useful to you guys. And so let's do this. Okay, so I'm just going to share a link that we have. So we were actually in a position where we have all of this stuff mapped out. It's a big document that we have. It's 49 pages long, and it walks you through all of this stuff from start to finish. And so there's a bunch of cool resources there as well, where you can kind of plan things out. It's the same document that we give to our students. And so we've got it so that you guys can just download it. And there's also a really good case study as well of one of our instructors in the academy, Denislav Dantev, and it's a case study of how he actually got funded with the 5ers as well. There's a brilliant case study in there that you guys can check out. So I'll put the link in here, if that's okay, Saul, and they can.
Yeah, great. Zach, that was brilliant. There were some questions regarding if this is going to be recorded and uploaded somewhere. Wait, I'll take it. Oh, you posted on the wrong chat, Zach.
Okay.
Make sure you're also typing on the for everyone, not hosting panelists.
Right.
And we can include, if you're good, we can include that link also once we upload this to YouTube. We can include that link in the description. And Zach, I gotta tell you, that was brilliant, and I really appreciate what you went through today, because you really keep things realistic, and it's something that is very, very rare in the trading space, and especially in Forex space, where everything is just luxury and Lamborghinis and unrealistic expectations and outcomes, and realistic targets and goals and times. That's something that we advocate for. That in the 5ers, we expect we have realistic targets that we expect from our traders, and we know what's doable and not doable in a consistent way in the long run. So I really appreciate what you just taught. And traders, if there's any questions you want to get answered, this is a good time to do that. So there's one here, Zach. If you see the chat, there's one from Skylar.
Yeah, so how do we know what to focus our energy on if we try this? Everything I try to learn doesn't end up working. Yeah, it's a great question, because we see this a lot. We see a lot of traders that come in and they will say that they've tried everything and it doesn't work. And the best thing I'd say is that, you know, we did speak about this earlier. It's a question of going deep versus going wide, because when people aren't successful with their trading, the number one reason is because they're not studying it enough. They're not learning it properly, right? They're expecting disproportionate results in a very short time period. When they don't get those results that they end up shifting to a new strategy and hope that that gives it to them. And so they end up in this cycle where they're constantly hop, skipping, and jumping from one thing to another. And they end up never really learning something properly. And we have, so the examples that we have, we have 4 instructors in the academy that teach trading, and all of them generate 6-figure incomes from it, and they all have 6-figure accounts. And the consistent common denominator with all of them is that they are specialists in their own style of trading. They're genuine specialists. And so they have a very broad understanding of fundamentals, and they have a very broad understanding of other strategies, but they are all exceptionally specialist in their own trading style, and they really deep dived. And when you spend time with someone that's a genuine expert at trading, right, they're genuinely good, you'll see this, is they've just spent a lot of time focusing on a specific strategy and really dominating it well. And when they get losses, and whatever those losses are, they push through that barrier, right? Because there's always a barrier. They push through that barrier problem that they face. They push through it. They get over that hump, and they end up learning a shed ton more that enables them to push even more forward. So it's that education loop that we spoke of.
Great. Some tips. I see some tips about going out of drawdowns. I don't know if you want to address that.
Yeah, I mean, getting out of a drawdown, I mean, it's like, I mean, my initial instinctive reaction when someone says that they're in a drawdown period, it's just have a much, so 2 things. One is to view losses as a business expense. That's the first thing, is that when you approach trading as if it was a business, right? And this is one thing that we see with our professional traders, what they do is that they view it as a business. And so they actually don't care when they get losses, because they expect them to view them as a learning opportunity. It doesn't affect them emotionally. They don't have that emotional engagement with them. And the second thing is to have a long-term mindset on things, because drawdowns will happen. But when you look at things over a longer period of time, they actually don't impact anything, right? And it's not just the case in trading. It's the case in any investment strategy that you're doing. Real estate goes up and down, right? The stock market goes up and down. Whatever you do, there will always be ebbs and flows, and so you need to expect it. What I would encourage you to do if you're going through a difficult period is, I would definitely encourage you to go back and just make sure the things we spoke about today, when it comes to your mindset, are you genuinely doing things properly? Do you genuinely understand the strategy? Right? Do you know what you're doing, first of all? Because a lot of people are fall victim to what we call, it's a common concept in learning any skill, it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you learn a little bit and you think that you're an expert. And so what to do when you're in a drawdown, or how long should you be in a drawdown for, anything like that, perhaps it isn't the right question you should be asking yourself. Perhaps the right question you should be asking yourself is, number 1 is, am I genuinely planning for the future? Number 2, do I know my strategy well enough? Am I a genuine expert? And if you're unsure of any of those answers, then you probably need to go back to the drawing board.
Brilliant. Now, someone's asking, how long should you backtest or test your strategy before realizing if it's profitable or unprofitable?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have back tested all of the strategies that we teach, all the methodologies that we teach, and we go back, and we've gone back 2 to 3 years, sometimes even longer, 8 years. I mean, I don't think there's a, if I'm honest, I don't think there is a magic number that you can look at that will be like, this is, so what you need to do is you need to back test it for exactly 1 year, 3 months, and 2 days, and then you know that the strategy works. I think what you need to do is you need to take a step back and genuinely spend time back testing and not worry about how long it's going to take you, right? Just genuinely backtest your strategy, and we've spent an inhumane amount of hours backtesting the methods that we teach, and we've gone back years, right? But how long will that take you? Like, genuinely, how long is that going to take you? Well, let's say you spend 6 months doing that. Who cares, right? It just means that instead of achieving a six-figure account in January, you reach it in July, right? 6 months of focused attention and backtesting and just doing that and really getting to grips with it, on the big scheme of things, isn't going to do much. It's not going to negatively affect you. It's this whole delay gratification thing. It's like, I want to buy a new rucksack, right? And it's like, I go on Amazon and I want to get it today, and I get pissed off if I don't get it today. It's like, dude, your life's not going to be bad because you don't get it in today, and it comes in a week. And it's the same with work. It's like, we don't want to do the work. It's like, okay, well, you can't bypass it. You can't bypass that work. You have to do it. And if you do it, you'll get the results. And if you don't, then you won't.
Agree. Your opinion on swing trading or day trading?
Yeah. So, I mean,
Better?
I'll tell you what we've seen that works. So we don't teach any strategies that are scalping, or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this to be nice. I'm not saying that there aren't people that are successful with it. I'm just saying that I personally haven't come across any on a personal basis, um, um, over the long term, and so we don't teach anything like that.
Yeah, I can confirm that from the data we got, most of the higher funded traders, they're swing traders. They hold their trades for more than one day. Um,
There's a
um,
really good question here, actually.
yeah,
Dimitri, can you explain the importance of independent thinking? I love this question. So there is one thing I didn't speak about when it comes to the philosophy of education and learning to trade. The foundation loop, there are four things, but there's actually a fifth thing, and I call that the Beatles step. And so what the Beatles did is when they first began their career, they were in Germany, and they were playing at clubs in Germany for hours every single night. But what were they playing? They were playing other people's songs. And they did that for a number of years. They were also playing in Liverpool, and they played over 300 times in the local club, but they were playing covers. They weren't playing their own original songs. They did this at the beginning of their career. And what this enabled them to do is when they eventually went into a place saying, now we're the Beatles, now we're going to start playing, they had this whole back catalogue of amazing songs that they'd rehearsed and they'd learnt over years and years and years and years. What we see is we see with trading is that it's actually vital to be an independent thinker, as in to develop your own method of trading that works for you. It's actually important that you do that, but it's important that you do that at the right time. And so the first thing you need to do is you need to focus. Don't try and reinvent the wheel before you know what a wheel is, right? So learn what works first, get that freaking nailed and dialed in. And then what will happen is organically, you will end up being in a position where you'll gravitate towards different types of risk tolerance, different ways of different time frames, different times of the day. You'll have your own method of trading. We've got, different methods within our infrastructure, and we see that everyone's a little bit different. But first, learn what works.
and guys, I know there's a lot of questions. So Zach, maybe where can traders find you? Because how can they reach out to you or
Yeah, so we've got a link I'll answer one more question I just saw, just as I see them. Indicator-based trading versus price action-based trading, gut reaction based on your research. Great question, Avi. I'll tell you what we found is, so we have 4 instructors. One of those instructors, so they all use indicators to a certain extent, but they are basically confirmation tools, right? And the types of indicators they use is actually very limited, right? And the way that they trade is generally a composite amount of things that are telling them, right? So it's a holistic approach to trading. They're looking at multiple things. So I'm not saying that indicators are bad, but if you're solely relying on indicators as your primary source of telling you what you should be doing, you're probably going to end up in very hot water. Instead, what you need to be doing is you need to be taking a step back and saying, okay, well, it's a holistic approach, right? It's not one magic bullet, one magic indicator that's going to sort you out. There's lots of things that you need. So sorry, just to interrupt you there, Saul. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
No, and I think we can take the last one. Can you clarify on emotions based on risk to reward ratio, please?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends what you're asking here. Can you clarify on emotions based on risk to reward ratio? I mean, generally what we're looking at is we're looking for a healthy risk reward ratio, but emotions shouldn't be involved in your trading. That's the bottom line, is that what you need to do is you need to get to a place where you are have as much as we can within the trading world, because it's a nuanced skill, right? And that's the complexity with trading, is that it's heavily nuanced. But despite that, you have to establish a set of rules and restrictions for yourself that will guide your decision making, right? You have to do that, because otherwise you'll be making emotional decisions, right? And so whatever it is, your rules need to be established. Okay, should we? I've got a link here that I can send in. So guys, if you want to check out what we do a little bit, we have a whole document. It's 49 pages that we give to our students, and you can just download the whole thing there. No cost. It's completely free. Check it out. And then we also have a we do have a whole course which speaks about getting funded, and there's a heavy focus on doing it with the 5ers. By the way, we're not affiliated with the 5ers. We just love them. We just think they're great. We're an independent institution. We don't take handouts from anybody. And when we found the 5ers, they were kind of a unique shining light in the industry for us in a world with prop firms that was pretty toxic. And so that's why we're here and we're together. So yeah, so go check it out, guys. And let us know what you think. We also have a free community as well that you can join. I can probably get that somewhere. I don't want to inundate you guys with stuff here, but here it is. We have a pretty rigorous method of joining in, but if you want to join our free community, we've got a bunch of cool stuff happening as well. So that's it. But yeah.
Yeah, all links will be posted as well with the recording. So thanks again, Zach, for
thanks for having me, Saul.
coming and making the time to hold the webinar. And thank you guys, all traders, for coming and staying. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Much appreciated.
Guys, go kill it. We'll talk soon.
Let me stop recording.